The Mueller investigation is collapsing after scandals reveal corruption. If Special Counsel Robert Mueller had a credibility problem before this week, what he is experiencing now is nothing short of a public relations nightmare. After learning that one of Mueller's lead investigators authored virulently anti-Donald Trump text messages, the news just keeps getting worse for the special prosecutor, and the whispers calling for Mueller's resignation are becoming louder. And the madness. The controversy came to a head last week for Mueller when a New York Times report claimed that FBI Section Chief Peter Strzok had to be removed from the investigation after it was revealed that he sent anti-Trump text messages. Since then, a plethora of reports have emerged naming Strzok as the lead investigator in several controversial cases where the FBI's impartiality was already called into question. For instance, Strzok and a partner were the investigators who interviewed short-lived National Security Advisor Michael Flynn in a surprise interrogation. During the course of the surprise inquisition, Flynn failed to disclose a meeting he held with the Russian ambassador. Flynn paid the price for this deceit, and he pleaded guilty to deceiving investigators last week. However, Strzok also interviewed political aides working for Democratic lawmakers, and with surprisingly different results. After being deceived by Hillary Clinton aides Hugh Abedin and Cheryl Mills regarding their knowledge of the Secretary of State's unauthorized email server, the Department of Justice was reluctant to prosecute either of these staffers for the exact same offense as Flynn faced. Furthermore, Flynn's lie wasn't even central to Mueller's investigation. As constitutional scholar and Harvard Law School professor Alan Dershowitz explains, Flynn's meeting with Russian Ambassador Sergei Lavrov was perfectly legal. So there was nothing criminal about Flynn's request of Kislyak, even if he were instructed to do so by higher UPS in the Trump transition team. The same is true of his discussions regarding sanctions. The president-elect is entitled to have different policies about sanctions and to have his transition team discuss them with Russian officials. However, Mills and Abedin lied about facts that were crucial to the email server investigation, since their knowledge of Clinton's server would have proven that the Secretary of State was advised not to use it by IT staffers and other aides. Fingerprints everywhere. Yet, Mueller's woes don't stop here. Strzok even sat in on the supposed interview with Clinton herself, an interrogation that mysteriously lacked any transcripts or recordings to corroborate her statements. To make matters appear even more corrupt, FBI Director James Comey drafted statements exonerating Clinton months before anyone even sat down with her, or didn't, for a phantom interview. Strzok also appeared to have a secondary duty within the FBI as Comey's editor-in-chief, helping the director put a political spin on documents meant for public consumption. Strzok altered Comey's first draft describing Clinton's use of the email server from grossly negligent to extremely careless. Believe it or not, Strzok even left his biased fingerprints all over the infamous Trump dossier, which was full of discredited information compiled on candidate Trump and paid for by Clinton and the Democratic Party. Fox News reported that Strzok was a key figure in the chain of events when the Bureau, in 2016, received the infamous anti-Trump dossier and launched a counterintelligence investigation into Russian meddling in the election that ultimately came to encompass FISA surveillance of a Trump campaign associate. The entire Russia-Trump collusion fiction was predicated on an unsubstantiated document emanating from sources in Moscow. The president cites a failing FBI with a reputation in tatters to explain the prejudiced witch hunt targeting his administration. Strzok is just the first Mueller henchman to record his enmity for the president, and it was only a matter of time before more emerged. "I am so proud," Andrew Weissman, one of Mueller's top deputies in the collusion investigation, wrote after learning that Acting Attorney General Sally Yates refused to defend the president's travel ban executive order. Who's policing the police? While the investigation proceeds at a halting pace, Mueller appears to be bringing a melange of criminal charges against a handful of Trump staffers for everything but the crimes for which he was appointed to prosecute: Russian collusion. Some observers have cited the pressure on the special counsel to justify his reason for being by pursuing charges that a prosecutor would normally dismiss for lack of evidence. American classicist Victor Davis Hanson hit Mueller where it hurts when he asked, "Who polices the police?" In answer, Hanson explained, "Usually, these chasing-your-own-tail appointments are born out of media and political hysteria. The special counsel immediately feels enormous pressure to find anything to avoid being accused of running a whitewash or wasting time and money. Ever since Mueller assembled his team of attorneys and federal agents to investigate allegations of Russian collusion from Trump's administration, there have been legitimate concerns about the neutrality of the investigation. Last week demonstrated that these concerns were warranted. Mueller's counterfeit proceedings are finally being exposed as nothing more than an unrestrained fishing expedition meant to discredit the president. It's time for Trump to think seriously about removing him.